Banking Guard from Popcan's Fixed Tape from last year. You're with Julian on the Brown Note and ShadowIn The Cloud, a review of one of the only films I've seen recently that's new. And Roseanne Liang and her film My Wedding and Other Secrets was the Chinese New Zealand film director's debut and the highest grossing New Zealand film of 2011. So I think she's in the mix for another big film that's coming up soon. ShadowIn The Cloud is an action horror. Was it a Netflix? Or was it actually released? I don't think it was. I think it actually might have come out. Chloë Grace Moretz is the star. Someone who I have not really given any credit to at all. And it is a mishmash horror film. It looks from the poster like it's going to be this really embarrassing film that tries to make out a teen-friendly female star is a Top Gun action hero or Rambo. Now, it does, but it's kind of brilliant for that. It is, for the first part, it is not a serious film. This is what you want when you want to go and see a B movie. And it kind of pulled the wool from under me. Because at the start, Chloë Grace Moretz is in New Zealand, and she's waiting on a mysterious runway at night in the middle of World War II. And this bomber pulls up out of nowhere, and she is to travel to Hawaii and to carry this big box with her, and it's got government secrets in it, and she's got a letter from a high-ranking general saying, don't you dare mess with this officer, and make sure you will be court-martialed if you look in this box. So this, I don't know if it's a B-29, something like a B-29, aviation crew of about 5 or 6 people are very hard-bitten and very rude to her. It's very, very sexist towards her in an uncomfortable way. And she's a bit feeble and English Rose and quite meek, and it all kind of felt a bit wrong what was happening. It becomes apparent that she is in fact a very different person indeed. And her story arc is quite something, because I expected when she actually revealed that she was playing a role, I expected it to be in one direction, and it kind of stayed in a similar direction to where it was going, but it just turned everything on its head. And I thought the story was really interesting, but the main part of the story is she is put in the gun turret underneath a plane. I saw recently an RAF guy talking about World War II, saying the life expectancy of a tail gunner in a bomber in the air in World War II in Britain was 6 hours. So she's put in this turret underneath, and they lock her in there because they get annoyed at her. Basically, it's not even for anything more than that. And they won't let her out. And while she's down there, if you've ever seen the Twilight Zone episode, and we all know this one from the film, where the gremlin starts attacking the wing on the plane, one of the most famous and memorable Twilight Zone episodes ever, where this guy is terrified of flying, and he sees out the window this demon landing on the wing of the plane, and he has this battle with it. That's half of this film. It's one of the elements of this film that have all been pushed together. It's not the only element, and it isn't as big an element as you might think it would be, even though this thing starts tearing up the plane. There's a supporting cast here. Taylor John Smith, Nick Robinson, Callum Mulvey's quite a famous actor from the Antipodean realm, who played a crew on the plane, and there's no one else in this film. Even though it looks really, really cinematic, it's obviously made on a very small budget. When we get the runway at night and everything's shrouded in fog, and then they're airborne, so they're in this cocoon. So it's obviously that's deliberate, and they've made it on a small budget, and she has to carry the whole first third of the film trapped in this gun turret without any access to the other actors, apart from their voices. To be honest, I found the other actors lacking. I didn't think they brought much to the equation, whether they were in the film or not. Chloe, I got so much time for her in this, especially as she pulled a dummy on me by making me think she was an idiot for the first third of the film. And then when I found out she wasn't, it went into some really interesting directions. Now, if you sign up for a B movie, which I didn't think this was going to be, I thought it was going to be her being heroic and miscast. Like, what I thought I was getting was Valerian and the City of 1,000, whatever it was, which I loved that film, but the worst casting in history in that movie for the central two leads. And being asked, who was the... I can't remember what the girl's name is, but I would have called her Chloë Grace Martinez. I can't remember. She was the one in Suicide Squad as well, but she was awful, and we were asked to believe that she was this top military person. But she just looked like she was on the beach in a bikini most of the time. And that's what I thought I was getting with her, but I didn't. She really takes on a lot of heavy lifting with this role. The character goes in very unusual directions that make the film more soulful and human, instead of just making it about guns and bombs, which I really liked. And there's some really interesting visual stuff going on when they get attacked by the Japanese fighters. And every time you... and when it really goes crazy, it goes for hell for leather. If you remember Mythbusters, they did a myth of whether an explosion can save you. If they drop someone from 1,000 feet and there's an explosion on the ground, will that cushion your blow? It didn't. It blew the dummy to smithereens. They do that in this film to the power of 10. Much more than that. They do some really crazy stuff in this. Some of the gore is excellent. I thought the tension was really good because every 10 minutes I wasn't quite sure what movie I was watching. It just went off into a random tangent. Chloe is undoubtedly the star of the show. No one else really matters. But it's one of those films where you feel like, okay, you've achieved it. You've got to the end. I respect you now. But it pushes and it pushes and it goes through about 4 or 5 different stages at the end that are further than you expected it to go. So if you want to... it's got naff reviews from some, and I suspect that might be from people that are watching it a bit without paying attention to the fact that they are joking and they are having a ball. And the fact that it introduces subversive elements into it as well. You got her breastfeeding at one stage. And it's just got this whole unusually human female side of it that doesn't involve just kicking ass, which I expected it to do. And it doesn't need to do that. It involves a lot of more emotion. And the director is really pushed out into some weird territory. So I thoroughly recommend it. I thought it was going to be terrible, but Chloë Grace Moretz, I've got much more respect for you as an actor. And I think Roseanne Liang, the Chinese Kiwi director, has made a terrific, bewildering and completely rewarding B-movie on a tiny budget that looks fantastic and has so much craziness in it. So ShadowIn The Cloud, I'm going to give a very solid 8 out of 10. And this is from a film I am going to review at some point. And I saw it very recently, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And it's such a masterpiece. I haven't seen it before. I love the director and gave an amazing review to the detective yarn, The Long Goodbye. So I was well up for that. But this from the soundtrack, he carried around 3 Leonard Cohen songs with him in his head from Leonard Cohen's debut album from like 1967, and ended up making them the aesthetic centre and core of the film. And this is one of them, Sisters of Mercy.
All the sisters